Hey everybody, Fifth Horseman back again. We're playing Kerbal Space Program this time. This is a pretty awesome game. You basically run your own NASA. So let's get started here, shall we? I'm going to start a brand new save here. Oops, hit resume. I basically, this is my third try at this. My settings were way too high. The settings are too high. We are, Did I just cancel? I think I did. I'm a moron. Let me do that really quick. YouTube. Let's go ahead and pick this as our flag and get this thing going. Okay, there are multiple buildings here, and I'm not going to explain them all right now, but there's only two that really matter at the start. One of them is the launch pad, and the other one is the VAB, aka the Vehicle Assembly Building. In this building, you can make your spaceships, and what we're going to make today is a StayPutNik-looking sort of ship. I'm going to bring this up here because we're going to make a fairly big rocket to send this guy up, and I'm going to rename it right now because I always forget. StayPutNik 1. Ideally, this guy's going to end up in orbit. I'm pretty sure I'm going to make it in orbit because in my two failed tries, it made it into orbit. So what we're doing here is I'm taking the StayPutNik probe and I'm adding antenna to it. These antenna won't do anything at all. As far as the game's concerned, all they're going to do is make it look like Sputnik, in my mind. And we're going to not give it anything else to do up in orbit except for extend those antennae. But we are going to make a way to put it up there. And the first thing we're going to do is this is the disconnector. You build your ships top down. You like to say, well, I built this from the ground up. Well, no, we're building this down to the ground. So you start with what you want, and then you build down how to put it there. So this here is going to disconnect and kick this thing off when we're all done with the mission. And then we need a little brain, because I don't want to leave anything in orbit. So I want to put this guy, well, other than this guy, I want to put this guy in orbit, and then I want to be able to turn the rocket around and retrofire and then deorbit that rocket. So I'm going to put another brain. It's kind of like this StayPutNik brain, but it's called an Octo 2. It's just very small. It does just the barest amount needed to stay in space. Or to control a spaceship, I should really say. So he's going to be there, and he has reaction wheels, so he can move around. He also has a little brain, so he can hold a heading, which is nice. But these two guys, even put together, they don't have enough reaction wheels to actually successfully control a rocket very well. So we're going to actually add. Let me put my fuel on here. This is the upper stage. This is going to be a two-stage rocket. Sputnik was also a two-stage, but in a different way. I'm not trying to make this like the Sputnik flight. I just want something that looks like Sputnik up in the thing. But anyway, so I put this fuel tank here, and now I'm going to actually put where is it? Sensor control. I never remember where things are. I'm going to put some reaction wheels on here. This is going to help control my rocket, both me controlling it and the automated pilot controlling it. Both me and it are going to benefit from this. And I put it here just to keep it away from the top. I don't think it matters that much, but I think having it in the center of the rocket or closer to the center just makes more sense to me. Now I need a rocket to use in space. I'm going to pick this guy because he's got gimbaling. If you look down in that biggest box where it says engine max power and all that stuff, down near the bottom, it actually, where is it? I'm sorry, it's not this one. It's this one. Now, yeah, engine max power is 200, yada, yada, yada. You'll see it says thrust vectoring. That means this can turn a little bit and give us some extra rotation, which is always beneficial. So that's our upper stage. This is going to do most of the work, actually. Most of the turning and stuff is going to be done with this rocket. The lower stage here that I'm going to put on now, so I need to disconnect from it. Is that under utility? No, it's right here. Now that's the bigger one. We need the smaller one. That's going to allow us to disconnect this upper stage from what comes below it. And what comes below it is two more of these fuel tanks, the exact same fuel tank I used before. But we want two of them. And then we want this big rocket. the biggest rocket we have, which is right here. It's the other one I got. The one that does 215, does a little bit more oomph to it, but it doesn't have any gimbaling. And you're saying, well, yeah, but you wanted gimbaling on the other one. Why don't you want gimbaling on this one? Well, I'll tell you, because we're going to put some fins on this guy. They don't need to be very big. These have lift, so we don't want that. Aerodynamic surface, no, we don't want that. We want probably this one or this one. Nothing is really known about this thing. I'm going to guess we don't want to use that one. We're going to use this one here. I almost want to use the one that says use at your own risk. A vaguely wing-shaped board. Use at your own risk. This tail fin, yeah, it's a tail fin. We don't want that. We want winglets. So I think we're pretty much stuck with these three. How does this one look? I like this one better. I'm going to turn on that so that they're nice, sticking out of the black part of the rocket there. And this is our rocket. This is exactly everything we're going to do. Oh, wait, I forgot one thing. One more thing I'm going to do to this guy that the regular Sputnik did not have is solar panels. Solar panel, actually. Just going to plop that on the top there. The reason behind the solar panel is I don't want to add a battery. And then if I put the solar panel in here, this thing will, in theory, last forever. One nice thing about Kerbal Space Program is the atmosphere actually has a definitive end. So once you get something in orbit above that atmosphere, it will stay in orbit forever. So I might as well put a solar panel on this thing so it can run forever. Take advantage of the foreverness of the game. Okay, and I know I said I didn't have anything else to add, but I do. Don't want this rocket sitting on its thruster, although it's light enough that it might actually be able to. I think it's good form to, there we go, put a little thing on there to hold it so that it doesn't crash. Okay, so we're going to save old StayPutNik 1 here. I think I have everything I need for it. And we're going to go to the launch pad. Okay, here we are at the launch pad. We've got our little ship here. Real quick rundown. This is our resources. This is our navigation ball. This, I just remembered, I didn't turn on the mouse. Okay, I'll do that for the next episode. Anyway, you saw our resources drop down. The thing that's moving right now is the resources. Down in the bottom center of the screen is the Nav Ball. That's one of the most important things in the game. You don't actually look at your rocket while you're... oh, I just remembered something. I'll do that in a second. You don't look at your rocket while you're controlling it. You look at the Nav Ball. The Nav Ball tells you every single thing you need to know to aim your rocket correctly. At the top of the screen is another set of information that's really important. It's got things like how much atmosphere you see, how high above sea level you are. You notice we're 85 meters above sea level right now because we're on land. How fast you're going, things like that. All these things are important. And you'll just have to learn them as you go, and more importantly, I had to learn them before as I go. On the left-hand side here, you'll see the staging stuff. You might have noticed this in the vehicle assembly building, and I should have fixed this there, but I'll deal with that later. The game does a good job of guessing what you want to do when you're staging your rocket, but it's almost always wrong. What I want is, I want these two things. You see the things lighting up on the screen, and then also on the left-hand side here. These two things to go first. I want this engine to light, and I want this to let go. Then we're going to climb up into the atmosphere for a while, and then eventually these fuel tanks are going to run out of fuel. Then I want this thing to decouple, and I want this engine to kick off. And that way this will fall back to Earth, and then this will take us into orbit. Once we get into orbit, I'm going to want to disconnect our little StayPutNik guy with this thing, and then send this thing back crashing into the ocean. That's what we call Plan A. I'm pretty sure Plan A is going to actually happen, but you never know. So we're going to throttle this guy up. We're going to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lift off. A little bit slow on the uptake, but that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. It's a nice looking rocket. It's keeping a pretty good heading. Let's go to our map view, which we should have done before. I hit M to go to map view. And then I'm zooming in here. This is, you'll notice the settings, my graphical settings are turned down a little bit. I can actually run the game at full graphics, but when I record, things look fairly dodgy. So we're not going to do that here. Even while I'm doing all this, I keep my eye on the nav ball, making sure that everything is centered, and it's actually slightly off-centered. So I'm gonna using the arrow keys or the WASD keys, I'm giving myself I'm slightly cheating towards the east, because you'll notice that even though I'm going basically straight up, my orbit is east to west because the planet is spinning this way. And so just by being on the planet, oops, I've got to correct my burn here. Just by being on the planet, I have some thrust to the east. So we're using that to get us up into the atmosphere, or to get us up into orbit, I should say, out of the atmosphere. You can right-click on all your stuff and check how much fuel you have. You notice I've already gone through the first fuel tank, and I'm only 6,000 meters up. And you're thinking, how is he ever going to get out? Well, one thing is, fuel weighs a lot. So getting out of the atmosphere on that fuel can be kind of hard sometimes. And so as we burn fuel, our ship is getting significantly lighter. Also, we're going to be dropping this entire bottom stage in a second. So that's going to also cut down... Oops. That's also going to cut down the... Yeah, see, while I'm in atmosphere, it's fighting me. As we're climbing, though, things are getting easier, and it's going to get significantly easier when we drop this bottom stage here in a second, because we're almost out of fuel. But you're going to see... Here, watch this. This is the nice way to watch this. And fuel's gone. Goodbye. That looks pretty cool. Okay, so let's go back to the map mode. Okay, here's where things get important. Ignore all those explosions and stuff. They don't actually mean anything. It's just when you're in map mode, the sound freaks out and it has no idea what to do. But I'm going to... between 70 and 75 somewhere is the end of the atmosphere, I believe. It might be right at 70. But I always try to get above 75, and I'm going to actually get up to 80 with this guy. When this orbit gets up to 80, I'm going to hit X to cancel my burn. 81. That's perfectly fine. Okay. So that's kind of the first stage. I mean, the first stage is when that happened, but this is really the end of the first stage of our flight here. We are now ballistic, as it were. We want to not be ballistic, though. We want to be in orbit. So how do you do that? You notice my nav ball. I'm moving the ship around, and you can see that the ship is actually moving left and right. And I just realized something potentially bad. Yeah, we're losing power when we're not aimed at the sun, which could be a problem. This might be a failed flight. I'm actually going to aim it up like that until we get to about probably 10 seconds, maybe 15 before apoapsis. Then I'm going to swing it back around and start burning to get into orbit. We have to do it kind of quick and then flip back around once we've achieved orbit to keep the solar panel charging. Not the most ideal situation, but failure is not an option, I believe. Actually, that's the U.S. space programs. In Kerbal space programs, I believe the motto is more boosters, which we only have 2 on this one, but it's a small craft. What are you going to do? Okay, we're about 30 seconds out here. I'm probably cheating too much to the sun, so let's go ahead and... Whoa! See how much more responsive the ship is now. Basically, we're going to be burning towards the horizon once we get to about 5 seconds before apoapsis. See how much power... Yeah, see, power's draining, but not that fast. So in about 10 seconds here, 5 seconds, I'm gonna hit a full thrust. And now. And see, not only is that lengthening our orbit, but it's pushing our apoapsis slightly away from us. We're still going to catch up to it and pass it. We're at it right now. So now, yeah, we have passed our apoapsis. Not a big deal. We're just doing a full thrust here, and eventually you're going to see our periapsis pop out of the back of the planet. And there it is. And then we cut. Periapsis 78. Apoapsis 89. Crappy orbit, but you know what? It'll get the job done. So now we're gonna flip back around so that we're aimed at the sun, and you'll see already we're charged up, which is awesome. And we've got the orbit that I want. It's not the best orbit in the world. I hate the chase cam. Going into free mode here, but we're in orbit, and it looks pretty nice. But our job is not done. Job is far from done. We need to control from here. This is important. Well, it's not super important, but when you're doing more difficult things, it's important. And then we're going to disconnect. And there he goes. Bye-bye, Sputnik. Now, this guy has no way to generate power. His power is draining right now because he's just sitting here. He has no solar panels. He has no nothing. So, let's go ahead and before we run out of power, let's deorbit. I'm basically going to do a full burn here. My only concern is I don't want to land on this ground because that's just bad form. So if we get to the point where I'm going to land on that ground, or I feel like I might, I'm going to cut the engines and just stop it there. But it looks like probably not. Yeah, I've got like tiny amount of fuel. Might as well. Let's go ahead and just burn it. Okay, he's ballistic. I did that just so it would crash back down, so I don't leave crap in orbit. Let's switch to our StayPutNik. Oh, we can't switch while throttled up. So I just, even though I had no fuel, I was still throttled up, and the game doesn't like that. So here we are. Here's our little probe here. The first thing the Kerbans have ever sent into space. Let's bring out all of our antennae here. And there we go. Whoop, let's click off the window. I think this is worthy of a screenshot. Let's take a couple. Maybe one more from this angle. And one into the sun, just for good measure. Oh, eclipse. Let's do that. Oh, that looks good. Okay. Oh, good job. Let's actually bring our GUI back up. And now what I want to do is I want to actually watch the other guy crash into the ocean, just for the fun of it. So we're going to switch to this guy. And he probably still has some battery power, because he lasts a little while. Oh yeah, he's barely using up his battery power at all. But you notice I can still control this thing, even though it has no fuel. But there's not too much to do with it. Mostly I'm just going to let this thing burn up. We're going to, oops, it's hard to control where it goes sometimes. There we go. I want it to kind of come in belly flop style in the atmosphere. So I'm going to speed up time here because there's no sense watching this until we get down to about somewhere around 30 or so, I believe, is where the burning starts. As soon as we see burning, okay, there's burning. We're going to slow this down. I'm going to take a couple screenshots here. It just looks so cool. Oh, that's a good shot right there. Two of those. Okay. Now we're just going to watch him fall down. You notice he's 10,000 meters above. He's cruising in. Not much to watch. I'll speed it up a little bit. No sense waiting. The inevitable is going to happen here. We're 5,000, 4,000, 3,000 meters away. And here comes splashdown. You did your job well, but you are now space junk. And pretty soon you are pollution. Well done. Okay, into flight. Not too much happened. The only thing that happened to this guy was he splashed down and died. So let's go to our tracking station. This is one of the other buildings. This is one of the other buildings that that is in the game. It just lets you look at all of your current things, and eventually I'm going to have tons of stuff in here, but I just started. So we've got our little probe here. We also have some debris. You notice that it actually tracks the debris. It's at the launch pad, and if you're wondering what that is, it's the launching stage. But here we are with our StayPutNik probe. Oh, sunset is coming, and I'm actually going to show you how the thing, how it runs out of power here. As the sun sets, I just sped time up a little bit, but as the sun sets, you'll see that the probe is still in direct sunlight, and we've still got all 10 of our power units. But then the sun is going to be setting here in a second. And it is blocked by Kerbal. And then now our power is going down. So now I'm going to speed up time a little bit. You notice the power is still going down, going down, going down. It's really dark, so there's not much to watch in the background. And our probe is dead. It actually has 0.2 left, which is interesting. But here comes the sun. I've slowed down time again. Here comes the sun. Doo, 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 doo. And now the sun has risen, and you will see our power is charging up because the solar panels are doing their job. And now that our power is back up, we have control over the ship again, which is awesome. Okay, so that though is the launch of our first craft. We have successfully launched a satellite into orbit, which is pretty awesome. Let's come around to the day side of the planet. Let's get a couple. Oh, look at those mountains. Yeah, the mountains aren't. The planet Kerbal is not to any sort of scale that we're used to on Earth. The planet itself is tiny. It's like, I think it's 600 meters in, 600 kilometers in diameter. Here's a look at that. Look at that. I'm gonna take a couple screenshots of that. Whoop, there we go. Yeah, it's somebody, I don't remember which YouTuber I was watching, said that must be the impact crater from the asteroid that destroyed the dinosaurs, or the Kerbosaurs, if you will. But yeah, it's a nice planet. It's very small. Like I said, it's only a couple hundred kilometers around. I mean, yeah, sadly I can't tell exactly what my orbit is because that's off the surface. But I mean, that's 70 kilometers right there. That to the surface is 70 kilometers. So you figure, if it was 100, it would be out to about here. So that's 1, 2, 3. It probably is about 600 kilometers radius, or 1,200 diameter. But yeah, it's a nice globe. Here's where we launched from. So we got a nice orbit right above the command center. Tell you what, let's fast forward time. Let's finish our first orbit, and then we'll end this video here on a successful. Let's switch over to the probe. Oh, there's the moon. There's our destination someday. We'll get there, I promise. But first, we're gonna do some in orbit maneuvers that are gonna have to take precedence here. We're gonna have to learn how to use the game, how to play the game, which is important. But here we are. This is our home continent. Looks a lot like Africa, if you see it in the map view. It looks like Africa that is actually connected to Europe up here. Then this would be like sort of a twisted France, I guess. I don't know what this is. I guess if you twisted Europe around, this here could be the Mediterranean Sea. So then this would be like Libya here, and this would be France and Spain, and I don't know. It doesn't really have that many accurate parallels to actual anything. But yeah, up here is Kerbal Space Center. And we might, if we get close enough. Actually, is that Kerbal Space Center? No, I don't know what's what. Let's check our map. Yeah, no, this is Kerbal Space Center here. Actually, here's what we could do. We could bring up debris. Yeah, there's our launch pad debris. So yeah, that's Kerbal Space Center right there, that little patch. These are the mountains that you could see in the background when we were looking over Kerbal Space Center from the launch pad. There's a emergency landing pad here. Yeah, these are just islands and stuff that are off in the horizon. But yeah, there's home. You're probably never going to see it again. Oh yeah, you can see the little thing. Yeah, we're 90 some kilometers from the debris that we left on the launch pad. But the sun is getting ready to set on Kerbal Space Center. We have our first satellite in orbit. Now this thing is going to stay in orbit unless I go up and retrieve it. I kind of have an idea that I might try to make some sort of a grabber space plane sort of thing to come up and retrieve it and bring it back home. I thought it would be cool, sort of simulating what they did to Hubble. Well, they never retrieved it and brought it home, but They did go up there multiple times, so maybe I'll do something like that. It might be kind of fun. But next episode, assuming this one isn't too hard to get up on the internets, next episode I'm going to send a man up, a manned mission. I'm going to kind of parallel the U.S. and Russia's space programs. I'm gonna send a guy up, get him into orbit, and then deorbit him safely, ideally in the ocean here that we're flying over right now, so that we're near Kerbal Space Center. I kind of want to try to even though there's no budget, I want to try to keep things as cheap as possible. And then after I get a guy in orbit, then I'm gonna send 2 guys up into orbit, and with the docking ports, and try to dock them together, which will be fun, and then of course bring them home. And finally, I'm going to make some sort of space station. I'm going to do all this before I land on the moon. The space station is just going to be a simple refueling outpost. That's my plan so far. So we'll see how well that goes, though, and whether or not I actually successfully do any of that stuff. So, but. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Fifth Horseman, and I'll be back definitely because this is a fun game. But I will, as always, talk at you later.